It'll be on the website, and individuals will be able to
Okay.
hear it later. This is a conversation we don't want to miss. So, thank you, friends, family, for being here. Good afternoon. Um, this is a very important conversation. This is Men's Health Month, and this is an important time there's no better time like the present that we have to prioritize our health. And this is what we do on this call. We try to make sure that with these conversations, you take a pearl or one or two or three, use it yourself and share it with somebody else in the family or in the neighborhood. So, we are blessed today to have two powerful voices with us, individuals who are not only leaders, but who have lived the very journeys that they are here to share. I had the privilege of hearing KC, our first speaker, at a Touch of Wellness conference in Philadelphia this past April. And I met Oya's team at a meeting at the ASCO meeting, which is the Oncology Society. What is it? American Society of Clinical Oncologists.
Yes.
And that was in May. What stood out immediately about both of them is they're individuals who truly care about one, their health, two, men's health, and about three, our communities, and about wellness for all. So I'm going to introduce KC first and let KC begin to share. And if you have questions, we'll go there. And then, oh yeah, you'll come afterwards, but I will do the introduction at this point for him there. So here's some 5 points I want you to hear about you, KC. Tell me if I get it right. You have a lifetime of service and leadership, from military intelligence to engineering to decades in education. Over 27 years shaping communities as a principal and a vice principal, impacting not only students, but their families. Third, you are a prostate cancer survivor who brings lived experience to this particular conversation. You are also a health advocate and ambassador, an ambassador, if I'm not mistaken, for Touch for Life, promoting screening and early detection. And the fifth point I want to make is you are passionate about empowering others to speak up, get screened, and save lives. So, KC, you have devoted your life to leadership, service, and uplifting others, from serving our country to shaping generations of students, and now using your voice as a prostate cancer survivor and a health advocate. When you all hear him speak and talk to us and just share, you will immediately feel KC's passion, his commitment to making sure others don't wait, right, KC? Don't delay, and truly take control of their health. KC, it's yours. Thank you for being here with us today. You're on mute, KC. Do I need to unmute you, or can you unmute yourself?
We good.
Okay, there you go.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity that you guys are affording me. One of the things that I have started doing is trying to make sure that I try to get the word out as frequently as possible. And so as you share some of my background, I never really thought about all of that. I never really thought about all of that. But yeah, I'm originally from Arkansas, raised in a small area, a small town. My mom died of cervical cancer when I was 6 years old. So I was raised without a mother, but I had my grandmother. And so cancer was always something that was always on my mind as I went through life. But to move forward, what we're doing now, and one of the things that I'm trying to do now is being an advocate as well as a survivor. My wife of 40 years, who I met in college, she's a breast cancer survivor. stage 4 breast cancer survivor. And our story is a long story, but it's a blessed story. It's a blessed story. So what I want to share is that one of the things that I'm doing right now, because my wife had, I think, 3 people in her family, a couple of nurses and a teacher, that have breast cancer, and one of them actually passed. When we found out that she had breast cancer and it was a lump really, really big, it woke us up, and we had never really experienced it in our home, and we was moving forward. My wife is a school guidance counselor of 35 years too, in the same school. And so once we found out that she had this, we went through some things, and we are praying people, and we realized that prayer works. And so she went through some amazing treatment that most people never even have to have the opportunity to. Just to share a little bit about her, she had a stage 4. They had to take lymph nodes out of neck and all this stuff, and they did chemo. She went through a lot of chemo, and it was time for her to do the radiation. And when we got there to do the radiation, the doctors and the team of doctors said, Miss Calvin, this is unusual, but we can't really find the tumor anymore. And so the tumor went from a stage 4 with just chemo. And they were saying, we're going to radiate the position just in case. And she looked at him and she said, no, God said it's over. And I was like, whoa, 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 baby, hold on, time out. We got to make sure that there's no residual or whatever. She looked at me and she said, it's over. So 15 years later, it's still over. So we was blessed. We was blessed. She didn't have to do anything but the chemo. But one thing that we did Susan G. Komen walk in Philadelphia. And we found out about this new treatment that they were doing because one of the guys who walked with us like 3 or 4 times, 60 miles in 3 days, and she did it. I didn't walk. I just rode along, but she did the walk. But we found out that there was some new stuff out called proton therapy. I never thought about it until I was diagnosed. And my diagnosis came because I didn't know anything about my numbers. I didn't know anything about prostate. I was just living a good life, hanging out with my frat brothers, playing golf in Florida in December, and not drinking enough water. And I ended up collapsing on the flight back to DC and didn't know it was dehydration. So after I went to the hospital and they gave me that juice in my arms, I realized that I need to go get checked because, like most men, and I'm gonna tell you ladies on here too, most men do not have discussions about their health. Men are more afraid of the disease than they are of the cure. So most men don't have conversations. Women have conversations. Y'all go to the doctor all the time. Y'all do y'all thing. Y'all get checked, and you guys are adamant about it. We will take an aspirin and ignore stuff and just continue to ignore it. And I was one of those guys. I don't know if y'all heard of the digital rectum exam. We all men hate that stuff, and so I didn't want nothing to do with that at all because I did it one time and the guy said you're good, and I just figured I was good for 50 years, and I was glad with that. But when I went and started checking my blood, the doctor told me that there was something in my PSA. I said, "What is a PSA?" Prostate specific antigens. I didn't know what it was at the time because I was naive to that. And so I had to get smart really, really quickly about my body. And then I started talking to some doctors because my friends, they didn't want to share anything about prostate. Most of the men that you talk to say, I might have enlarged prostate, but that's it. I ride too many motorcycles. I ride horses. I ride bikes. And they come up with all kinds of excuses not to know what they're doing. And so one of the things that I did, and I did this in Phoenix when we was out there about a month ago and we spoke to a group. I asked the men to just raise your hand. How many men in this audience know? Because we speak to probably about 350 men when we do have these conferences, and we close the doors. We have oncologists, urologists, cardiologists, Touch for Life have all of them on the team, but we don't allow most times the women there because we won't talk when the women are there. And we've been doing it with these churches, and we have courageous conversations about why we don't do this. And so it's important, now that I'm speaking to an audience of females and males, that you be aware of your spouses, your sons, your uncles, that they know their numbers, they know their health, because a lot of these cancers are curable. But because we are more afraid of the cure than we are of the disease, we just shut down. And men don't talk about it. We'll sit at the bar watching the game, drinking beer. Numbers could be off the chart. We don't share with anybody. So I found out by doing this. I was in Reno with a family reunion. One of my cousins who he never drink, never do anything. He was an athlete, everything. He told me that he had had prostate cancer for about 3.5 years, and I was like, why so long? What they do within our community is a lot of the urologists and some of the doctors say that prostate cancer is a very slow growing cancer. And so you'll probably die of something else before you die of that. They literally tell us that. And so in the meantime, the cancer is not decreasing, it's growing. And so my cousin, he had waited and waited and waited, and it went from 4 to 7 to 9 to, and it was in the teens, almost in the 20s, which means the entire prostate was contaminated. And so all you could do then is have surgery. So a lot of people in our community end up getting the surgeries. And with the surgery come a lot of side effects, like tremendous side effects, especially if you cut the wrong thing, and men don't want to talk about that. So they don't really want to go through that. But my cousin went through that. He went through that, and he was in Arkansas, and a lot of my guys who are in the military with me, they go through that. And so I've been telling them we got to talk about this. We have to get out there and talk about it. And so what I found is if I talk to the women, they will put a little pressure on the men about going and knowing your numbers. You must know your numbers. You must at least check 2 or 3 times a year. Whenever you have blood work done, ask the doctor, what is your PSA numbers? Don't wait until it matures. Catch it while it's in its infancy, because it's a curable cancer if you catch it early. Now, the side effects are something different. And what I end up finding is that very few of the people that I knew about proton therapy. So I was on a Divine Nine call because I represent my fraternity in the DMV, and Laura in the Touch for Life people was on there talking about breast cancer, and I asked them, so what are you doing about prostate cancer? One out of every 5 men gonna no, actually 1 out of every 5 men gonna catch it. 1 out of every 3 black men gonna catch it. Gonna catch prostate cancer. So the numbers are similar for breast cancer. But we don't look at that. Now we got to start including colon cancer too, because colon cancer is now hitting us hard. And so no one was looking at that. Women, you have all kind of organizations and things that you do, but men, there was nothing out there that we would talk about as a whole. And so because I heard about the proton therapy in Philadelphia, we was doing the walk, I asked them about it. And the doctor was telling me about the seed program, the surgery, they was giving me all these other high dose radiation, 1, 2, 3. It was a lot of stuff that they were telling me, but I didn't understand. They weren't telling me all of the side effects. I had never had a biopsy. I didn't know what a biopsy was. When I did it, I was like, oh Lord, help me. I don't ever want to do that again, because they didn't put you to sleep or none of that. It was very, very invasive. And those are one of the things that men are afraid of. When I did a MRI with and without contrast, I'd never been in an MRI in my life. And after being in there for an hour and a half, I thought I was like in a tunnel. I felt like I was in a grave. I didn't know what to expect because they weren't playing music and all that. And so my wife and I went around because, first of all, if you got health insurance, a lot of the guys I knew, they went to the military, went to Walter Reed and stuff because they were ex-military. But if you got insurance, make sure you get your physician that you're comfortable with. If you have to go to an HMO, I understand you have to be told what you have to use, the doctors that they have. And in some cases, it's not a good experience with some of these guys. And when we close the doors, they like, the doctor only saw me for 5 minutes. I want to talk to him a little bit longer. Fortunately, I had Blue Cross, and when I went to talk to somebody about proton therapy, Blue Cross said that they would pay for it. I didn't know what that meant until I started doing the research. In the world, there was like 52 machines for proton therapy. Proton therapy is quantum physics, where they actually take the atom. Atom has a new proton, neutron, electron, and they take it and they take the proton, and because the proton has mass, unlike radiation, which is light, two-dimensional, it will target exactly where the prostate, where the cancer is, and it's like a bullet. It ain't like radiation, where everybody you have all this spillage and it can hurt all your other organs and it can affect your organs. So I had to have these conversations because they didn't want to share it with me. And so I realized there was 52 machines in the country, and most of the time the ones that was near me, they was using it for brain cancer because there's no spillage. It's good for children because there's like 1% spillage at all of radiation. And so I researched and found out there was 39 machines in the country. And where I work at is right on the border of Virginia and Maryland. And Nova Fairfax had 2 machines. Hampton had 1 machine. They had one at Sibley Hospital. And these machines cost $7 million a piece. And they had one up in Baltimore. So I go over to Nova Fairfax. I sit with an oncologist, and he started writing. I showed him all my numbers, showed him my MRI, showed him everything I did. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew is my wife had been through it. So I knew a difference between a urologist and an oncologist. Urologists are probably taking the lead in a lot of this because what some of the men that we talk to, they don't even get a chance to talk to the oncologist because Oncologists focus, as you know, on cancer. Urologists focus on internal. And a lot of these guys go to these urologists and they have people in line and they do surgeries and do all these things inside their office, you know. And I wanted to know what about the cancer. And so these guys sit down and told me what about cancer. And I compared what he gave me. I went to Johns Hopkins, which is what my wife had in Annapolis. I went to her oncologist. The guy said, hey, this is doable. He said, we don't have the machine, but if you do this, I asked, so what's the difference in what you're offering me and the side effects? And just to be honest with you, the side effects for men, it affects your libido for the rest of your life. And we don't we don't want to discuss that because that's what make us who we are. And then they start talking about your Gleason score and taking hormones. And then some that'll make you, you know, sensitive. And men don't want to talk about that either. And so I had to get to know exactly what's going on. And since I've been doing this, people have been calling me and they asking, what about proton? I went through 39 treatments for proton therapy. Every day I would go in there, they made an AI version of my prostate. They laid me down. I wasn't in no tube. I was in a regular room. The technician, he was standing there. He didn't have to hide behind no lid or anything. And I was concerned. I'm like, okay, I'm about to get some stuff. He said, don't worry about it. They did. The machine would go over me, 5 minutes on this hip, 5 minutes on this hip. See you tomorrow. And I'm a high school principal, so I would go to work, leave at noon, then go back to work. The kids didn't even know I was gone because I was only in there for 10 minutes. And they were like, Mr. Calvin, aren't you going through cancer treatment? Yes, I am. So after 39 treatments, I went and did my check. Well, every Wednesday he would talk to me and my wife and show us the progression. I went and it was it was going down. And he said it's going to continue to go down because this is so those kind of conversations I started having within my fraternity group, within my friend group, within my buddies group. I just talk to people and they call me an advocate. I'm a survivor, but I'm an advocate for knowledge. And the more we know about this thing and take this thing out the closet, but men just don't want to have those conversations. They don't. And it's difficult. So when we do these, and we got another one coming up, we just have one in Phoenix. When we close the doors and we have real conversations, they will open up and they start getting numbers, getting my name, calling for this. And we've had so many people on our panel. We've had a whole group of doctors that actually come, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm the advocate who's on the call. I actually spoke at the American Association for Cancer Research. And what I told them they need to add to the team, we got the oncologists, urologists, we need a psychologist because the mental part of knowing that you got cancer inside your body is one of the things that's keeping us from doing what we're doing. So if you don't take anything away from what I'm sharing, make sure that you understand that your mind. So one day I was walking while I was going through my treatment, and I was concerned. And like I said, I'm a Christian, and I was looking at my Bible verse, and a verse came up and said, I called on the Lord, he heard my cry, he removed my fears. Fears ain't nothing but anxiety. Anxiety, it will grow if you don't have comfortable confidence that you can get through it. So that's how I got through it. I got some other friends, they didn't went to their basement and closed their doors because some of them had these surgeries. These surgeries didn't go well. They still having after effects, hormonal effects. I talked to one guy, he in his 40s. He's about 45. His wife is young. He like, Casey, I'm not a man for my wife no more. And so we have to open up and stop doing these things in the closet in our health as the men. And it was Father's Day this Sunday. As men, we were taught to be strong, not to be weak. I was a Boy Scout, Life Scout, almost Eagle Scout. I went to the military. I pledged the hardest thing I could find, Omega. I'm just that dude. So we don't have those conversations. And we're supposed to be the leader of our family. But when I talk to a guy whose wife's saying, KC, please, can you talk to him? Because he's going through this. It's emotional. He will open up to me. But you have to have a network because men are not going to talk about this, especially when they don't understand, because there's not a lot of information out there. So one of the things I am telling every guy that I speak to is that I wish that they most definitely have a conversation, not just with their private care doctor, their primary care doctor, but you got to have that. But be prepared to have conversations with specialists because they trust a lot of these guys. One guy told me this past weekend, I went to my doctor. He was just horrible. He didn't tell me anything. My neighbor came to me the other day. Hey, man, my doctor, he's horrible because some of these guys are just going through the motions and they tell you, go do this, wait on this. They did MRI, infused MRI, and you got to pay this. It's hard. It's hard. So we're in the process now of trying to get together something like a green book that we can recommend people, but we can at least give them some of the steps because that's what they're asking for. And from what we have been doing, it has grown to right now. I got to put things on my calendar, but that's okay. That's okay. If I have to be the one that share this information, if I have to be the one to advocate for us, we have to because we're dying twice as frequently as everybody else. And why are we dying? Because we're watching and waiting or active surveillance. We wait, we wait, we wait, we wait, and then all you can do is have surgery. Then you get to that point where the cancer then metastasizes outside of the prostate, and then you're in trouble because it's in your bladder, your pancreas, and all these other things. But if we know our numbers, just like women going to the doctor all the time, every man should know their number, their PSA numbers, and make sure that they get those blood checked every day. I'm sorry, every month, every 6 months. Sorry, I said every day. But they should know their numbers. And a lot of men don't. But every man knows somebody who had prostate cancer or somebody who's died from prostate cancer. Every man knows it. I haven't run into anybody who don't know those. And that's a problem.
So thank you, Casey. I want the folk, if you know your PSA, put a hand up or say I know it in the chat. And then the other question is, if you are a spouse, do you know your husband or partner's PSA? Okay. Because that's an important thing to know, to support each other, to be able to do it. So if we don't know it, that's the commitment to walk away, know your number. And how soon, how often, and you told us how often to get it, but how old were you, Casey, when
I
you were
can't hear.
diagnosed?
It's breaking up.
Uh-oh.
Lisa, can you hear her?
I can hear you.
Okay, I couldn't hear the question that she asked.
How old were you when you were diagnosed? And when was the first time you had your PSA checked?
That was 3 years ago, 2022.
Okay. All right.
And I'm 64 years old now.
So the first time you had your you had your you had a digital rectal exam was when?
The first time I had a digital rectal exam was in my 30s. And I love that I call it a false security because what they do, if you know this, the prostate is about the size of a walnut. And when the doctor do the finger, all they can feel is the front. They can't feel what's inside, what's the back. And it's a false positive. So I left out of there smiling, saying, hey, I'm good. He said, you'll have to come back for 10, 15 years. I was like, man, I ain't going through that finger no more. So I didn't know anything. All I knew is I didn't want to go through that anymore. And he had told me that it's good. What I didn't know is that finger cannot feel. And by the time you feel it, it's already been grown. It's to a lump. It's to a tumor. So you want to catch it while it's in its infancy and it's still at the cellular level.
That's great. Carol, you had your hand up. Did you have a question, or you were answering that you knew your spouse's PSA?
Yes, the latter. I was
Okay.
answering.
Okay. All right.
Did
Everybody knows. I think everybody knows. What you gonna say, Casey?
Did she say she know her spouse's PSA numbers?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a group. I don't think this group is not afraid to talk to each other. I don't think. But spouses, do a check on each other. Make sure we're getting and know our numbers for everything. Numbers for your cholesterol, numbers for your sugar, numbers for not just PSA. Mammograms don't have a number, but you should know you should go and have that done at the right time in your life. So,
and also everybody like to ask, what is a high number? A high number is relative to your number. So let's say your number is normally around 1, because you're going to always have some number. It'll never be completely 0. Like mine is right now at 0.0 something. So, but it's still going to have a number. But what people look for, well, 2 might be high or it's 7 high. Whatever your number, and what you're looking at is the book in it to see if it was here and now all of a sudden it started growing and started growing. And so that's when you go to war, when you see a change and you can catch it early. And so make sure that number is not stagnant. And most time it won't be. And make sure that you also tell, who's that, Miss Carolyn Watkins, make sure that all the males in your family know what that means. Talk to your uncles, talk to your sons, talk to your cousins. The males need to have these conversations and make sure that you push him if you have to, Ms. Watkins.
Yes, thank you. I will.
Yeah.
Did,
That,
did I did I see in Casey's bio that he's from Prince George's County, Maryland?
Yes, I am. No, I'm not from there. That's where I live.
I mean, you live there.
I
You
live
live
in
there
Lake
now.
Arbor.
Oh, okay. I spent 30 years in Maryland. I lived in Mitchellville for
Mhm.
30, almost 30 years.
Yeah, we built our home here in '94, and we've been here since.
In Lake Arbor.
yeah. Mary, your hand is up.
Yes, I just want to reiterate, this is a great conversation. My father passed away from prostate cancer that metastasized
Mhm.
to lung cancer. And that was after he had been cleared, quote, air quotes, 10 years earlier. And
Mhm.
once we found that the prostate cancer had come back and had metastasized, it was literally just months before he passed away. But he knew back when he had cancer treatment, he had the prostate treatment over 10 years ago, and he told his sons and they were being treated as well. So it's something that men do need to talk about. I thank you for just letting the men here know you've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about it with your children, um your not just your children, but your cousins and all of that. They need to know so that they can know their numbers, like you say, and don't just rest on, oh, my number is good now, and so I won't look at it for 10 years.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Well, I
Absolutely.
say that prostate cancer runs through my family. I had a brother who had it, and when he found out that he had it, it was too late because his numbers was way up to about 40 some.
Mm.
Mm.
And but the first thing the doctor told him, talk to your other brothers and tell them um, that what to do and about prostate cancer. And he told me about it. And the year after he had died, I had the exam and I had prostate cancer.
Wow.
But I had the operation and the doctor took care of it. And it's been 28 years of me being a cancer survivor.
All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah, that is
One
outstanding.
thing also you have to be aware of when they do the surgery and they take it out, they have to make sure that they get it all. Because I've had people call me and said that 2 years after I've had surgery, my PSA number is going back up. How can you have a
About
PSA? How can you have a PSA number and you don't have a prostate? And
yeah,
so if
about
they
five
don't get
years
it,
ago, I did have a slight recurrence to where they had removed the prostate, and the doctor Nelson told me that there was a little prostate there, and he gave me some radiation. And that was been 6 years ago, and that's been cured. And my numbers are way below zero now.
good,
And
excellent.
Excellent.
I go once a year now. He was going 6 months, but now he's put me off once a year, and now I'm pretty much cured.
That's great because that's important. I got people who are talking to me saying, KC, it's returned. And also lipedema. A
Hmm.
lot of the guys have swollen legs because of
The
lymph
new.
nodes in their legs and stuff like that. And with surgery, there's a lot of side effects, and that's why I say a lot of times men don't want
Right.
to talk about it because the side effects can be worse. The key to it is to get it early and get it out. I have some guys who did the seed program. I don't know if y'all heard of that. What they do is they radiate some seeds, about 5 seeds, and they put it in your prostate and they leave it there for life. And the
Mhm.
radiation do what it do, but there are some side effects to that too. So just stay on top of it and stay on top of it as much as you can. Don't let it get up to the 40s or whatever those numbers are, because that's that active surveillance and that watch and wait. And
Mhm.
if your doctor tell you to wait and you ask him, what are you waiting on? You waiting
Mhm.
on me? What is the point of
Yeah.
waiting? Is it getting any smaller? Is it decreasing? Absolutely not. They just wait until it get to a point where the insurance company would be okay with them cutting.
Yeah. Laura, your hand is up. Laura. If you're on mute.
Oh, yes, I was just trying to get off mute.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make 2 points. I think it was Mary who made the point about getting uh, the sons and cousins checked. I also wanted to make the point that sometimes it's prostate cancer is one of those things where you can carry a mutation that could also be passed on to daughters. The BRCA2 mutation gene can also be passed on to daughters. So I don't want daughters to be left out of the equation genetically from a testing perspective.
Thank you
Testing,
for that. Yep.
and that should be noted in your medical history and discussed with your doctor, that you should share that if a dad or granddad had prostate cancer, that should be shared because that's also a potential risk factor. A lot of people don't think about that, and I want to make sure that's made clear. And for those who are concerned about returning, the science is advancing too, and there are tests that are coming out on testing on, is there any cancer left, and is there a risk of it coming back, and things like that. So the keeping up with the science is also important, because the testing is getting more and more sophisticated of, is there anything left in my blood and anything left circulating in my body.
Mhm.
Good.
Thank you, Laura.
That's
And
great to know.
and for those of you on the call, Laura is the founder CEO of Touch for Life, for which KC is an ambassador. And one of the things that they really talk about is biomarkers and testing. That's an important area that they focus on. Thanks, Laura. And thank you, KC. I know
Sorry, I
you've
can't
got
help myself sometimes.
No, this is what this is. It's a conversation. We're talking amongst ourselves. And as Casey said, we don't talk enough, but this is a group that comes to listen and will share. So tell us what we need to talk about and what we need to know. So thank you.
Laura is actually my friend and my boss, but Laura is also a survivor. She didn't tell y'all her story. Laura is a
No,
survivor. Laura is a
we're going to have Laura come back during breast cancer awareness if she will. So I'll invite Laura back for that time to share her journey. And you also have a foundation. So we'll get you back here too, Casey, to talk about some other things as well if you're willing to come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So you
Great.
guys are a priority. This is my priority in life.
We appreciate your sharing. So now we're going to move on to Oya. And I am honored to introduce you, Brother Gilbert, because here are your 5 points. Let's see what you know, if I get it right. You're the founder and CEO of Health Hip Hop Foundation, where you're driving community-centered health engagement. You are a nationally recognized health equity leader and a patient advocate. You are a multiple myeloma survivor who has turned his journey into a platform for change. You are an influencer in policy and research. You are a contributor, speaker, and have testified before Congress. What you do is that you bridge health, culture, and community by using innovative approaches like hip hop to drive awareness. What I want you to recognize is Oya brings a unique and powerful voice to this space. After navigating his own journey with multiple myeloma, he transformed that experience into a national movement, one that connects science, culture, and community to drive real change. When I met his team and have met him at ASCO, it was clear about his impact and about the equity that he wants to ensure is coming to our communities. He wants our communities to be seen, heard, and supported. He's not only an advocate, but he is a movement builder. I'm honored to have you here. It's your turn today. You're just not here to give information, but to share your lived experience, truth, and your actionable insight. So, welcome. Come on off camera and join us.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I mean, that's a heck of an intro. I mean, wow. I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone having me here. Um, I guess I can start at the beginning. I truly am passionate about what I do. Um, and all of it is because of the disease that not that it's living with me, that I'm living with, but it's living with me because I'm still in control of my life. And so, just so you understand what multiple myeloma is, it's a blood cancer, and it's incurable, but it is also a cancer where you can definitely live a great quality of life. It's a cancer of the T cells, the bone marrow cells, and what it typically does is, or what it can do is it erodes at your bones, but typically it creates bone pain, back pain, fatigue, but it's something that normally attacks the kidneys. You know, a lot of times you don't really die from the cancer, you die from something, a side effect of what the cancer caused. But like I said, it's incurable. I was diagnosed in 2017, the day after Christmas, kind of a great Christmas present. Before I continue on, I must acknowledge that I am a firm believer in God and Jesus, and He is the guide of everything I do. My journey started. I live in a very small rural town in Pennsylvania, um, predominantly older white community. And so the reason why I shared that way is I've never had any kind of major illness my entire life until this cancer. I've never broken a bone. And what happened is I started experiencing what I thought was a heart attack. I went to the emergency room. Uh, they diagnosed me at the time at saying I had an anxiety attack, which at the time frame I was like, "What the heck is that?" You know, we talked about what anxiety is, and they asked me, "Was anything stressful happening in my life?" And had all these things change. And I said, "Man, no, just regular life." And told them it can't be anxiety. Because if that's the reason, I said, man, I'm a black man. I'd have had anxiety when I was like 10 years old. I've been going through all kinds of stress all my life. So we kind of chuckled about that. And we started going down that path. But as I was seeing all these doctors and having these tests, they were all coming back negative. And at some point, I did started believing I had anxiety. The episodes or what I was experiencing was shortness of breath, chronic fatigue, and some back pain. And as I continued to get testing and everything was coming back negative, these episodes is what I called them, started happening more frequently and more violently. And the doctors started labeling me as a hypochondriac. They said that because they couldn't figure things out. So, of course, I must have been making it up in their mind. Second portion of it is they said I was looking for drugs. And so this went on for pretty much 2 years. And so at some point, I was now in this 2 year space, sick every day, all day. And I wasn't athletic, but I was certainly very active. I had a full-time job. I am my profession my profession prior to what I'm doing now. I'm sorry, give me one. Lower your voice. My profession right now, before then, was facilities manager of large facilities. I ran Volvo, General Motors, and I also used to run NFL football stadiums. And I had my own business. So I was very active. Now, all of a sudden, I could sleep for 10 hours and then be up for two and feel like I haven't slept at all. So to my point, the doctors weren't seeing me. I went through 4 primaries. I've seen every specialist you could think of. I've seen every ologist, zoologist, mixologist, any kind of ologist you could think of. And it all kept falling on deaf ears. So at this point now, I am on death door step, 2 years into it. So I was raising my two boys, and I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I tried to increase my life insurance policy. And the thing that a lot of us, if you know anything about life insurance companies, the thing we hate about them, not wanting to cover pre-existing conditions, is actually the thing that saved my life. They tested for everything, and they discovered a protein that's in your blood and urine. They call it the M protein. It's an M spike. And that is how I then went seeing my fourth primary, got a bone marrow biopsy, and I was diagnosed the day after Christmas. So, as you can see, the healthcare system is something I did not know about, and it was very broken because if they would have listened to me, I started off by telling them exactly what I told you. Actually, I included another component. Not only did I say I never had a major illness, I also told them that I hated addiction because it ran in my family. So I didn't like taking anything. So why would I be looking for drugs? And why would I be a hypochondriac if I told you there's really something wrong? I want to say to the men before I go into what came out of this is that it's important for, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather was super old school. He was from the South. You don't go, you don't talk about your mental health. You don't cry. You need to man up and all those wonderful things. And I'm, here to say that they weren't all the greatest. It wasn't all the greatest advice. But I do excuse those, my grandparents because that's what they were taught. But we live in a different time now where we have to educate us men. We have to educate each other that it's okay. God created men and women with feelings, and so we need to be able to exercise those. And I think it's so important that men don't let pride stand in the way of prevention. As the gentleman earlier said, KC, there are a plethora of things that come out of just the things we can control about what we ingest and our outcome and with our health. Those are the things we can control. There's so many things that we do that lead into a multitude of different diseases. Some of it is genetic, and you can't, prevent that portion of it. But staying aware, information, and being educated about your circumstances is the most important thing I could possibly tell, not only men, but women as well. Just historically, women tend to take to their health a lot better than us men. So it's important to do that. When it comes to the thought process that us men have, and this tough guy scenario, I think it's nothing more crazy to have that mentality of hiding things. I have a friend of mine who says he won't go to the doctors because he don't want to know. Well, I'm here to tell him that you are going to find out, regardless if you want to know now or know later. The only difference is if you find out later, you might not have the opportunity to do anything about it. So I think that's very important. Another thing I would love to share is the dynamic of mental health. I know when we do go to the doctors, we get annual checks for everything. We talked about prostate, colon, your eyes, all kinds of different things. But I think it's important to remember that you need to go get your mental check. Your brain is an organ. And so it's important that I think we should go get mental wellness checks once a year, 6 months. I truly believe everybody needs a therapist to keep it 100% with everyone. Whether you can afford one or not, that's the question. But I really think everyone should really talk to a therapist. It's very beneficial, and it was very helpful to me. Something my grandfather certainly would have disagreed with, and a lot of men to this current time frame still don't think it's cool or think it's weak. And then lastly, I'll share that, for us men, I think it's one of the most selfish things you can do, to hide your health from your family and your loved ones, or not go do something about it when you know something's wrong. Don't sit there with your foot swelled up for months and months and just think it's going to disappear on its own. It's not. It's something wrong. There is different ways to get your prostate checked. It's not all like the KC said, the finger thing and the manhood thing, but that's not even the real true way to get a real accurate uh, ideal of where your numbers are. As I say, it's through blood work. Your blood tells the story of everything about you. So it's important that you go get those tests. And I think it's one of the selfish things because there's people that love you. You got wives, children, grandchildren, some of us. You got friends and family that love you in their life. So please love on yourself even more to do the right thing. So what came out of all that story is I wanted to do more. My story became very unique. Different nonprofits, national nonprofits asked me to go tell my story, and I did so. But in that process, I recognized that not only was my disease and the disparity of multiple myeloma, which it affects African Americans 2 to 1, Black and brown folks 2 to 1, than white counterparts, but I found out the healthcare system was broken severely. And so as I spoke, I wanted to do more than just tell my story. So with that in mind, when I started joining steering committees, and I'm on plenty of steering committees with pharmaceutical companies, and I'm on those steering committees because we do have the ability to have a seat at the table. It's just that when you go to that table and sit down there, we got to be honest and say what we really mean and what's really bothering us. And I'm on those steering committees let's be clear, they're going to make drugs. You're not going to stop that. You're not going to stop that. But what we can do is make sure that they make drugs safer, and more importantly, make drugs safer for Black and brown folks. So I always tell people, clinical trials, that's always a crazy conversation. Oh, everybody thinks it's some kind of Frankenstein lab or some other kind of thing. And they talk about Tuskegee and different things of that nature. And all of the Tuskegee thing is absolutely true. Frankenstein thing is not. But we're living in a time now where, one, the difference between then and now is there's laws in place. Two, I said the other thing, we have a seat at the table. But please understand that every drug that's on market today goes through a clinical trial. There's no way for it to come to market without doing so. And so with that being said, if you have a clinical trial where 25,000 people participate and 20,000 of them are white and 5,000 are Black, what we all need to understand is when they get to phase 3 and that final chapter, and if the efficacy is right, they are going to bring that drug to market. No questions. But that drug is going to be more catered because they've done all the testing of the side effects catered to white people. But if we change that scenario and it's 25,000 Black and brown people, now that drug and all the testing and its side effects are more catered to our DNA, which now we're talking about precision medicine. So I just want to share that about clinical trials and what my reason and purpose as I continue to work with different pharmas is to make drugs safer, since we're not going to stop them from making drugs and we're going to continue to get sick. But what happens is when she said about why I started this foundation. So I am a firm lover of hip hop. It saved my life. I don't want to go into all the specifics of that, but it truly saved my life as a teenager living in an inner city and having a tumultuous childhood. Instead of writing in a diary, I did music. I produce, I write. When I was 18 years old, I came out with a record in the tri-state area, which is Philadelphia, Delaware, and South Jersey. It did really well. That afforded me the opportunity to move to New York. And a lot of the hip hop legends that those that are on this call would know, I had the opportunity to learn from, befriend, and become, hang with them. Because back in the day, they didn't have millions of dollars. So they rode on a train, they was walking, catching cabs, riding bikes. So you could really run into those individuals and really have, conversations with them. The reason why I chose to stop in the mainstream face of it is I had my daughter and I decided to choose her, which was the greatest decision in my life. But I did do hip hop cathartically behind the scenes. I have a studio at the house and so forth and so on. So when we got to the space of understanding how to reach Black and brown people, as I listened to Pharma, they said, we can't reach Black and brown people. They won't participate in clinical trials. We don't know how to get the message to them. I said to them, Well, it seems like y'all doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Even though it's been 20, 30 years, you still hand out flyers. I said, well, man, there's a word for that. Everybody in this call probably know what that word is. And I said, maybe you should try to start thinking outside the box. And I said, well, I'm from those communities. I come from I was raised to think the way, a lot of us think as far as what I just explained to you earlier. I said, so the soundtrack of my life is hip hop and R&B. From probably 60 on back to children being born today. Hip hop has touched every facet of this planet. There's third world countries without running water, but they know hip hop songs and TikTok dances. So I asked myself, how can we use that vehicle as a delivery mechanism to teach health literacy and well-being in underserved communities? That is what our foundation does. And I'm talking about the original form of hip hop for us, old school folks on here. I'm not talking about this new hip hop. This new hip hop don't teach you nothing. But the original form of hip hop came from a grassroots. It was birthed out of a grassroots community, underserved community. It was storytelling. And in its original format, it was used to address social systemic situations. It was used to invoke change and awareness. You have songs like Let's Talk About Sex from Salt and Pepper. You have songs like 911 is a joke from Public Enemy. You have Self-Destruction. I could go on and on with songs from back in that day. X-Clan, the whole tribal mood, that whole red, black, and green movement. We've gotten away from that when, the machine, corporate America, got a hold of it. So we do that at our foundation. We create that type of music that sounds hot. You want to play it in your car, but it's also informative. Um, and so that's an important component of we do community events across the United States. We do block parties instead of summits and symposiums. Everybody on this call know what a block party is like. I think the biggest difference is instead of talking about Sister Josephine's dress she was wearing the other day, we might talk about prostate and other different health related issues, or how you can get an Xbox for $20, but it's still that same energy. And we typically do it inside of a park, inside of the underserved community. And we turn that park into a one-stop shop place to address as many disparities as possible. I'm happy to say that at our block parties, we also provide free clothing and toiletry to the homeless because they part of the community. We also provide training. We've given out free training for Narcan spray and free Narcan sprays before the overdose crisis in our community. Killing black men is a health crisis. And so we teach about nonviolence and the importance of that. We also have financial literacy. That's a crisis as well. And then one of the things I love about our events is all of the things that make an excuse for people not to want to come to stuff. Oh, I can't get there. I ain't got no car. Well, we partner with the biggest transit industries in those cities to give out free bus tickets, free transportation. Oh, I can't see a doctor. The doctors in my neighborhood are no good. Well, we bring national and local doctors right to our block parties with the mobile unit so they can actually be seen on site. And get testing on site. So we eliminate that excuse. So any excuse you could possibly come up with for us black and brown people not to show up, we eliminate that. All they got to do is show up. It's free. And we also curate it in a way that also makes it entertaining. Just because it's entertaining doesn't mean it's entertainment. We do that way to put people in a more receptive position to receive information. So we put them in that block party space. We don't talk their heads off like I'm probably doing right now. I'm so sorry. But we don't talk their heads off. We have people to educate, and then we give them creativity. We'll do spoken word, but it's related to health. We have somebody speak about something, and then we'll have someone performing. We're moving around is health. Hip hop dancing is health. So we curate that in a way. And lastly, we have a podcast that focuses on men. It's called Hip Hop Array, Men Talking Health. One of the unique things I love about that is, first, it has that barbershop atmosphere to it. But the most unique thing is we never, ever give our guests the questions. And that is to keep the authenticity of the conversation real. And I think people can appreciate that and it comes across as you as a viewer because you can tell, I know I can tell when the stuff is pretty scripted and when it's not. And so with that, I think I'll be gracious enough to turn it back over to Lisa if they have any questions. I'm very grateful that you guys have me here. And um, I would just say God bless and love God. Trust God, rather.
Thank you so much. And there are probably questions, but you and Casey both, your passion is evident. It is clear and appreciative the way that you speak to the about the community and how your journey got you there. Uh, I want you to really share how you engage the community from politicians to the whole community, because there may be individuals on the call who want to do something like that in the community. They may want to bring it that way. You may want to, Laura may want to collaborate with you, KC may want to collaborate. It's
Yes.
all about connecting and doing what the community needs when it needs it. So
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, I really, there really isn't any secret formula, I guess I would say. It's really just putting in the work. And the biggest thing I've learned since I was a child is network. Networking is the ultimate thing, and just meeting people where they are. I'm very aggressive with what I do. I don't take no for answers. I've showed up sitting outside of congressional people's offices without an appointment. Oh, you're gonna see me today. Somebody gonna see me today. I try to do it the right way, but if I don't get the right results, I do that. But then I think it's about being genuine. And I hope, I don't, I'm very, people, if some people on the call know me, I'm very, very humble. I think just being very genuine and upfront with folks is very important. Passion. I heard it in KC. I think people, just like you said, I think people can feel that. Like this is a feeling. It's not a metrics that you can have. This has become my life. And so I truly want to help our people. It's very important to me. So I say to the point of you talk about the government folks. I've joined many of organizations to do fly-ins in Capitol Hill. That's what they call those when you go down to Capitol Hill and speak and to the congressional folks. When I spoke in front of the congressional folks, I say the same. I'm talking just the way I talk now. I don't dress up some fancy conversation for them. I speak from the heart. I don't have any written speeches. I tell them just how it is, and I say the things that might sound a little bit uncomfortable and difficult. But unfortunately, if we want change, that's the conversations you got to have. You can't keep massaging and pacifying when you get that moment. And I think for me, what's most important is I never know when I'm going to get that moment back. So if I get in front of a congressional person or a government official, I'm going to give them the business, and not in like a negative way, but I'm saying I'm going to say what I need to say because I might not get another chance to have that opportunity. So I would say partnering with different organizations that are already have most nonprofits that are on a large national scale have a division that focuses on policy. So that's what I did. I got with those different nonprofits and then made sure I went to the policy folks. To be perfectly transparent with you, all pharmaceutical companies have a policy division. And so I've made sure nonprofit and on the pharmaceutical level, I'm part of those policy folks. So I can make sure I can get myself into those rooms. Because all we got to do is get in the room. I mean, that's all I need to do is I just want to get in the room. And then, then your own self-passion and your own commitment will come across to these folks. Does everybody listen? I've been down the hill and talked to some of their aides or their, and some of them ain't listening, especially the Republicans. That's a whole nother conversation. We ain't gonna go there, but especially the Republicans. But it's important that it's important that you still put in the work because remember one day, whatever they're doing, no matter who they are, they won't be in office, or you just never know who's going to hear your story or your voice and how it could affect people. So, and then on the state level, as I told you about the block parties, What we do is when our motto is to focus on the center of influences within a community. Every community has ones, from government to street dudes and everything in between. They're all part of the community. And so you collectively try to find the most influential center of influence in that community, because those people, you can't do all that leg work. So you want to try to find all those influential people and get them in a room and make them believe and get committed to what you're doing. And then they'll go to their respective areas and tell more people. It is still the greatest way to share information, word of mouth. I don't care what kind of technology they come up with. And so one of the things when we go in a community is, instead of coming into that community telling them what they need to do, we ask that community, what are some of your issues and how can we help you with them? And while doing so, we then tell them, this is what we would like to share in return with your community, some of the things that we want to get across. And a lot of times you'll find out that there's a lot of it that lines up and is intertwined.
That's beautiful. Frida, I'm going to read what you put in the chat. Once you're in the room, God will lead and guide you. The table is prepared. Let's all remember that the table is prepared. So that's a great fact. So I know we're over time with the group, but thank you for what we've done. KC, if you want to come off mute, and if anybody has any questions, any comments they want to bring to both of our presenters, you know, we are truly grateful. If you go to Baahri.org, you will have this link, and this chat will be posted in about 3 days. You can send anybody from your communities to this link to receive that. And if there's anything about your organizations and foundations that you want us to post on this site, we are happy to attach that information here as well. So you just let us know. Thank you. So KC, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I just want to share. I actually like the idea of the love and hip hop thing that he's doing. One of the things that fall under Touch for Life, which is the organization that I'm representing right now, is that we have a couple other ways to reach people, and one of them is called Party with a Purpose, which is, instead of just having a regular wellness thing, we actually set up a jazzy type environment. Everybody wear black, and we come in and it's not just a wellness talk, and we have the scientists and everything there. And it actually pulls a different crowd.
Yes.
The churches don't want to get involved with it because it's about with a purpose. But if you want to get those people that are out there, so we've tried that, and it actually works a lot. And so I just like the fact that you're using all of your avenues, all of your opportunities, and you're pushing indoors. And we got to continue to do this because these are our people.
Facts,
Some people find
KK.
twice as frequently. And the thing that you
Facts.
talked about making sure you try the trials, we are big on trials. We're big on
Yes.
that because, like you say, somebody's got to go through it. And in some cases, we got people who are still living because of that. And did you say you was in remission?
So no, I'm not in remission. I'm stable. I've never reached remission. However, once again, about being educated, I made a sound decision based on the information to not, since it's incurable, I chose not to do another stem cell transplant. I don't think I said that. I received a stem cell transplant to get my disease under control. And essentially, I got a auto stem cell transplant, which is basically you're using your own, not basically, you are using your own cells. And that's a whole nother process. But the point is no. And I wanted to add to what you said is that's the importance of what I'm saying about using, thinking outside the box, because what we're trying to do is not only reach the people who are sick. We trying to reach the people who aren't sick yet or don't
Yes.
know they've got an issue. And I'm telling you that there's people who are sick and in this space that don't go to forums and summits and symposiums and listen to tons of lectures. So imagine those that don't. So you have to start thinking with a little bit of, I guess, psychology, on what are different ways to attract people to a space where you can get them in a room. And as I said, put them in a more receptive position to
While,
receive information.
while you were speaking, I actually texted one of my fraternity brothers. He's Dr. Borkins. He's a retired MD, and he actually is in remission from multiple myeloma. But he also
Awesome.
found out in November, I think it was, that he also had prostate cancer. So
Oh,
I texted him about you. He was like, "Oh my goodness, I wish I could talk to him," because
yeah.
he's through a lot. He's been through a lot.
I would please, and we can, yeah, Lisa, you can
He's an
share my.
MD. He's an
We
MD.
will connect the both of you so that you all can be connected via email, okay? All
Yeah,
right. And if you want cell phone connection, I'll get it through Laura, whatever
I,
Casey, we can do all of that to exchange. Okay.
Lisa, if I could just share one thing.
Sure.
I know I told you this disease is incurable, and obviously some people, this disease is definitely a nasty one. But the point I'm trying to make is about being educated is I am this Christmas, the day after Christmas this year, I will be celebrating 9 years since I was diagnosed.
Mm.
2 years of not being treated at all for this disease. So
Mhm.
that'll be a total of almost 11 years. And so why I'm mentioning that is what Brother KC said. I'm doing this because I feel like it's somebody passing the baton to me. Somebody before me, even when Tuskegee was very fresh, even when mistrust was even more, somebody like me that looks like me did a clinical trial to make sure that this medicine was here for me today, this treatment or this therapy, so I could live and tell you today that I'm gonna be celebrating almost 9 years and I haven't relapsed. Does it mean it's not gonna happen? I don't know. And through the grace of God, but I just want you to understand the importance of, especially men, please, 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 please go get checked for whatever's going on with you. Continue with those checks because I'm telling you, the sooner you catch anything in life, the better chances you have to dealing with it. And then educate yourself so that you can make sound decisions as you go through you won't let the doctor run no okey doke on you when he's talking to you because you know what you're talking about. You'll be able to advocate for yourself even after the fact of 9 years. I still sometimes have to advocate for myself because certain doctors,
Mhm.
they on a certain kind of time. You're not gonna pull that stunt with me. That's why it's important. They just can't tell you anything. Just like and that's what I'll just close with that because I'm getting excited.
That's great. That just means there's more conversation to have with both of you. You're always welcome back. If you've got more to say, let us know. We'll invite you back anytime. You're welcome to be here representing Touch for Life, representing um, faith, health, and hip hop. Right? Did I get that right? Okay.
It's health, hope, and hip hop, but faith
Health,
is in there
hope,
too.
health,
Faith is in
hope,
there
and
too.
hip hop. I got the faith in there. I added something to you for you, but that's it. So I will conclude unless the members of the callers and attendees have anything they want to add. This will conclude today's conversation. We'll see you next month on the fourth Tuesday.
Can I give you?
Yes.
Can I give
Lisa,
you?
Yes. Mary, go ahead.
yeah, I just want to point out and thank both presenters for pointing out how important it is for people who look like us to participate in these medical trials, because, that's how they come up with things that impact us.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.